Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shubowale. U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed in a tweet that he will not be attending Joe Biden's inauguration on the 20th of January. This ends all speculations about whether the president, who has spent months alleging fraud in the November 3rd elections, would attend. Meanwhile, a police officer who died from injuries he suffered during the pro-Trump siege of the U.S. Capitol has been named as Brian Sicknick. His death is the fifth connected to the riots, which have led to calls for President Donald Trump's impeachment.
The storming of the U.S. Capitol by supporters of President Donald Trump has prompted calls for his removal from office before President-elect Joe Biden is sworn in on January 20th. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has urged Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. It allows the Vice President to step up if the President is unable to perform his duties owing to a mental or physical illness.
In calling for this seditious act, the President has committed an unspeakable assault on our nation and our people. I join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this President by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment. If the Vice President and the Cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment.
Violence, lawlessness, and mayhem.
Striking a more conciliatory tone, in a video, President Trump condemned the attack, saying those who broke the law will pay.
America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
The president also adds that his focus now is to ensure a smooth transition of power.
We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
5 people have died in relation to the riot at Capitol Hill, including Brian Sicknick, a U.S. Capitol police officer.
I, Elizabeth DeVos, do solemnly swear.
Meanwhile, United States Education Secretary Betsy DeVos is the latest to resign, joining the list of officials quitting President Trump's administration in protest at the storming of the U.S. Capitol by his supporters.
VOA correspondent Cindy Sain joins us now for more. Cindy, it's official. President Trump won't be attending Joe Biden's inauguration. This doesn't really come as a surprise, does it? But what are the implications?
Yes, you're exactly right. It is no surprise. There have been all sorts of rumors going on that the president may have been planning to go to Scotland, to his golf course, or to be in Florida there at his Mar-a-Lago property. But no one expected him to go. Although we are hearing, it's not official, we are hearing that Vice President Mike Pence is planning to attend, which I think would send a very important symbol to Republicans and Trump and Pence supporters that this is a continuation of governance, peaceful transfer of power, especially after all the disturbing events that we've seen in Washington this week.
Yeah, certainly disturbing events indeed. We're also hearing reports that the House could hold an impeachment vote next week. What more can you tell us about this?
Yes, that's exactly what we're hearing. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seemed to be genuinely shaken after she had protesters occupying and defacing her office this week, and she and her was taken to a secure location under threat. So she is working on the articles of impeachment are being drawn up. Even if they're doing this as quickly as possible, what I'm hearing is that likely it just doesn't happen overnight, that it probably will be midweek next week until there is, I think that Pelosi is planning to have an impeachment vote on the House floor without it having to go through committees. And I believe also the requisite number of Democrats hold a very slim majority in the House right now, but I believe enough have signed on. Just more than 100, I know, yesterday had already said that they consider President Trump to be a national security threat, and they want him removed from office.
Yeah, it's certainly not looking too good for the president. There are reports that persecutors will consider President Trump's role in the riots, which has led to the death of 5 people. How likely is this?
Yes, you're right. Prosecutors, an acting attorney general has said that they are looking into the role of President Trump and Rudy Giuliani and his son and some Republican lawmakers who spoke at an event near the White House just a short time before this siege of the Capitol occurred, and with President Trump telling his supporters to fight like hell. So I'm hearing reports that President Trump has been advised by the White House counsel that he could face legal problems for this. So I think this is a very serious thing. Now, we may have to wait until the next administration of Joe Biden comes in, but I think certainly there are films of the people who actually went into the Capitol and actually clashed with Capitol Police and resulting in deaths, and that right now the FBI is working on prosecuting some of those perpetrators.
Like we heard, briefly in the report played before, the president is striking a different tone now, vowing to ensure a smooth transition and calling for reconciliation. But is this really having any effect on the American people, or is it a little too late?
Yes, I apologize. I had a little audio trouble right there. I hope I'm not interrupting you.
No, go ahead, Cindy. I don't know if you heard me.
You're right, but
yeah.
Yes, I would say that the president, as you indicated, the president is back on Twitter Friday, and he said that to his wonderful, the 75 million people who voted for him, they will never be disrespected or maltreated. So it looks like he's back into to praising his supporters, and already a different tone than what we saw in the video that you mentioned. So some critics were saying this is probably not going to last very long. The president read from a teleprompter in that video, and then when we get to him speaking, just sort of off the cuff, we might hear something different.
All right then, Cindy, a lot to keep our eyes on. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Today.
My pleasure.
In more developments, the UN Rights Office says that President Donald Trump should disavow very dangerous language he and other political leaders have used about the U.S. election result and the storming of the Capitol in Washington this week.
We are deeply troubled by the incitement to violence and hatred by political leaders, and we are calling on the President of the United States and other political leaders to stop, openly disavow the false and the dangerous narratives that are being spread, including by casting aspersions on the electoral process in the U.S., including, spreading disinformation about allegations of electoral fraud and vote rigging. This kind of insightful language can be very dangerous, as we have seen in the events of Wednesday at the U.S. State Capitol. We are concerned that some of the protesters were clearly displaying symbols of racial and ethnic hatred and white supremacy, including the Confederate flag, clothes displaying anti-Semitic logos, and a noose erected from across the Capitol. We condemn this display of overtly racist symbols, and we call on all the political leaders to also condemn the use of such overtly racist symbols.
The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information on who placed pipe bombs in the committee headquarters of the U.S. political parties in Washington. Law enforcement agencies had received reports of 2 suspected devices, one each at the headquarters of the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee on Wednesday. The statement was accompanied by an image of a masked suspect wearing gloves and a hoodie carrying an object. ABC News reported that bomb technicians used water cannon to blast the devices to break them apart and render them harmless on Wednesday. Justice supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump stormed into the Capitol building where lawmakers were certifying the victory of President-elect Joe Biden. To the COVID-19 pandemic now, a study by the University of Texas shows that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine can still target a key mutation that has emerged in 2 new variants of the coronavirus. However, this is only one of many mutations that are found in the new forms of the virus. So while the study has been welcomed, it is not being seen as a definitive scientific evidence about how the vaccine will perform. New variants have been detected in the UK and South Africa. Both forms of the virus are spreading more quickly, and this has raised questions over what level of protection vaccines can offer against them. The widely held view is that vaccines will still work, but researchers are on the hunt for proof. Still to come on the program. Well, we'll meet Ala Bliha, a Jordanian artist, using makeup to transform into celebrities. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on the program. The United Kingdom has approved Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for use, the third to be given the green light by the country's medicines regulators. Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the approval of the Moderna vaccine is great news, describing it as another weapon in the country's arsenal to tame the coronavirus. Here's more on this and other developments on our COVID-19 Global Update.
The Moderna vaccine is set to be 94% effective, and the UK has ordered 17 million doses in total. The UK has already vaccinated 1.5 million people using the Pfizer-BioNTech and Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine. Meanwhile, London Mayor Sadiq Khan has declared a major incident in the capital as COVID-19 cases continue to spread across the city. It comes as the coronavirus infection rate in London exceeds 1,000 per 100,000 people. Officials say some hospitals are on the brink.
There are hospitals that are right on the brink. Some of them are sort of over that now. And we've just got to hope that the whole of the NHS doesn't hit the brink at the same time. Otherwise, we won't cope. It would look like a very, very bad winter. There'd be ambulances queuing outside, unable to offload patients. There would be patients on trolleys in corridors, lots of very distressed people, both from the points of patients, relatives, and staff.
Major incidents have previously been called for the Grenfell Tower fire in June 2017 and the terror attacks at Westminster Bridge and London Bridge. Israel has tightened a national lockdown in a bid to curb a sharp rise in new coronavirus cases, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promising that all Israeli adults could be vaccinated by the end of March.
Tack, därmed var det replikskiftet avslutat.
And Sweden's parliament has agreed a new pandemic law that will allow ministers to introduce stricter measures in the country. From Sunday, the government will be able to limit numbers on public transport and have the power to close down venues, including shops, gyms and cinemas. The Australian city of Brisbane has entered a snap 3-day lockdown after a cleaner in its hotel quarantine system became infected with a highly transmissible variant of the coronavirus first detected in the UK. And finally, South Korean researchers say they have designed an inexpensive, inflatable, negative pressure ward for isolating and treating patients with infectious diseases like COVID-19 after the pandemic exposed shortages of beds around the world.
The United Arab Emirates started offering free COVID-19 inoculations to all citizens and residents back in December. But in Dubai, residents have divided opinions on the safety of the vaccines. Our correspondent, Mayowa Adigoke, speaks to some who shared their fears in this next report.
Fireworks on the world's tallest building. Music and shouts of excitement. In Dubai and the entire United Arab Emirates, the year of COVID-19 2020 finally gives way for the new 2021. Hopes are high for the world to return to normal this year, especially now that scientists have produced vaccines for the coronavirus.
I am super positive. I'm really excited. I know it's going to be a great year. We're going to move forward from everything and all the chaos that's been happening in 2020. And I'm definitely prayerful. I'm keeping positive, like I said, and I look forward to it very much so, yeah.
In Dubai, local authorities are giving jabs at no cost. A brilliant move for the tourist destination, which has found a way to keep its economy going with strict guidelines in place and an ambition to return to normal sooner than later. However, there are still doubts about the safety of the vaccines.
There is going to be that segment of society that is happy to take it and believes in it and has the faith that it's going to work. And there's the rest who are going to be not just cynical, but concerned and will have that anxiety that this may not be it. And the after effects or the side effects may be greater and may outweigh the benefits of having the vaccine.
I won't take the vaccination. I'm not confident about it because I feel like these things need a lot of research. First of all, we didn't even know what COVID-19 was when it actually first started. So how did they quickly come up with a vaccine and how are they sure that it's actually going to work? Because of this, I don't think I'll take it. And because of this, I'm also not confident in the vaccine.
As a teacher, I do feel that, taking the vaccine, being a frontline worker is pretty important. It's pretty vital for the safety of the other staff, for the safety of the students. But at the same time, as a scientist, because my background is of science studies, I don't feel like they've done enough in order to clinically trial everything. They've not gone through the vigorous process of taking their time to make this vaccine. So what are the precautions? What are the long-term effects of it? We don't know yet. So for that reason, I'm totally in between.
Valid fears, which may complicate things as not getting vaccinated poses a risk for all.
Fears are absolutely understandable, but then this is a product that's got a lot of science behind it. Generally, before new medications or vaccines are released for public use, it goes through a lot of trials. And when we talk about trials, we talk about testing these vaccines on thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So I think it's safe.
In the meantime, many others have continued to take the jab as government steps up its campaign to get as many people who are willing to get vaccinated. Will this encourage skeptics to follow suit? Only time will tell. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Mayowa Adigoke for Channels Television News.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 24 prisoners who were accused of being behind the assassination of former President Laurent Kabila have been released after spending nearly 2 decades behind bars. Their release follows a pardon by President Felix Tshisekedi. There were scenes of celebration as the 24 men were released from prison in the capital, Kinshasa. Many Congolese believe they were not complicit in the death of Kabila, but were scapegoats for the 2001 assassination. On a lighter note now, let's meet Ala Bliha, a master at using makeup to transform into celebrities. The 27-year-old Jordanian says the impersonations allow her to overcome the routine and boredom of life. Take a look.
Sitting in her room for hours finishing her makeup, Ala Bliha is not preparing for a night out, but instead to transform into famous figures and celebrities. The 27-year-old art graduate says she has been attracted to this kind of art since childhood, when she used to paint mustaches on her face to imitate characters from a Syrian TV show.
To be honest, it's an exciting feeling to impersonate another person for 1 or 2 hours and imitate their character by studying their movements, how they act, and delve into their character's world. It can help you overcome the routine and boredom of life.
She migrated to social media to show people her skills and mostly to entertain her followers by posting videos of her imitating famous characters. It takes her between 3 and 7 hours to finish the look for one character, she says, adding that she chooses characters she likes, or sometimes she responds to follower requests asking her to imitate a specific personality. Although the Jordanian artist is solely working for entertainment purposes, Bliha hopes that one day her skills will get noticed and help her work in film production.
I don't need anybody's money. I'm using my own money. I'm not using the lobbyists. I'm not using donors. I don't care. I'm really rich. I'll show you that.
That's brilliant, really brilliant. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shubowale. Have a lovely weekend.